That's my opinion. They're just not skillful enough to point that out. And there's not many of those teachers who prioritize just the pointing out. Most of them are very engaged in having people do other things that will eventually lead to where it'll be easy enough for the teacher to point it out. Why am I doing this non-dro and all of these levels of practice, sir? Because I can't point it out to you until you do that, because I'm not skillful enough. So you do the work. You do the work, and then come back. Instead of being able to work with a person exactly where they're at, because the gold is there. The Buddha nature is fully present right now. It's not obscured. There's blind spots that make it somewhat difficult to see, but with a clear-sighted eye of a sharp teacher, they can find the gold and point it out, and then your mind self-recognizes that, and then that FM band suddenly arises. That's a real Dzogchen teacher, in my opinion. It's hard to argue with that one. So the point I'm really getting to here is we're going to go outside and we're going to do some Togal in a couple of minutes. That you are talking about transforming the current state of consciousness. It's like taking a tab of acid. It comes on in less than an hour, around an hour, and then when it comes on, there's nothing you had to think about to make it come on. It just happened. So when you practice Togal, as an example, this completely satisfactory state of mind arises spontaneously. Doing Togal is like the old-fashioned way of LSD. No, it really is. Yeah. I think it is. I think they're doing similar pharmacological changes in the brain and affecting the quantum consciousness aspects of the third eye and the crown chakra. They're approximating it from different angles, and most of the psychotropic psychedelics are probably doing something very similar. And that's why even in the Tibetan annals, they were doing different versions of, or some sort of concoction of datura. Is that a mushroom? Or is it
they did do plant medicine. Like all the traditions do it.
No, I'm talking about the Tibetan traditions. Datura. Does anybody know what datura is? It's the Latin name for a type of plant or mushroom that produces visions. I have read several times that's been used in old times. And it comes from the shamanistic traditions. So it might be more among the Bonpo. Bonpo are much more associated with the ancient shamanistic roots of Dzogchen, which probably came from Central Asia. Dzogchen is not Tibetan. It came from probably Central Asia, and there might be another version that came also from Kashmir area and India. But it looks like there's a kind of a couple of different lineages that approach it differently, but the Bonpo tradition, that's very much integrated in the Dzogchen with the shamanistic tradition. And so the usage of these various psychedelics may have been more common in the Bonpo and the shamanistic. And most of the shamanistic mystical traditions did use something. The Mayans, the Incas, the Aztecs, there's indications that they were using either psilocybin or certain peyote, like mescaline type things, or ayahuasca, and these different things that were part of the initiation ceremonies. Even in Africa, there were parts of the... Don't let me forget, I want to meet with your African person.
I'll try to get hold of our phone her again today.
Because that's one of the research things I'm trying to do here is learn more about the...
Tulu.
And maybe she knows some people that I can talk to that know more about their stuff. But the more I'm looking at, I'm finding all of these mystical traditions have ancient roots in their shamanism. And of course the Africans have really interesting stuff. If you've read any of the anthropological accounts of recent researchers in the last 50 years who've gone in with some of these tribes of people who are living in the wild and participated in their rituals and so forth. I mean, they're really plugged into understanding the Kundalini and the chakras, and they have their own words for everything, ancient African words. So there's some cool stuff here too. which I would like to learn a little bit more about in terms of how those function. But there's a lot anthropologically you can read where these medicine men, so to speak, what do you call it? Witch doctor? No, that would be
Traditional doctors.
Traditional
Sangomas.
leaders.
no. What do they call themselves?
Sangoma.
What?
Sangoma.
Sangoma?
Yes, it's A-N-G-O-M-A. Sangoma.
Sangoma.
Yes.
Well, these Sangomas, many of them, and in Australia, they also have quite a tradition, and it goes back to these shamanistic roots, and they all use some kind of psychedelics they seem to, as an initiation, and then you weren't supposed to use that again. You were supposed to then go through the various purifications and things like this to come to it naturally. So that's a whole another side of this, and then the Egyptians, which were doing Kundalini and working with the sun. I have another book that's going to be coming out called The Way of Light, where I'm taking a chapter for each of these traditions and explaining its light body traditions, what they do exactly. So that's why I'm got to get more on the African to get a little more detail on that. But I've got lots of research stuff already done on all the major traditions and their exact instructions from teaching, meeting with their masters and of these lineages. So next, what occurs? So this FM band occurs, and this coherent state of what we could call nirvana, where there's no dissatisfaction in that band, in that mind of clear light. There's no dissatisfaction. What we're going to be doing later today is, once that's sort of, none of this is guaranteed for any of you, but giving you the path, giving you the way to do this, the way to come through this. And that is, once this mind of clear light arises and it's recognized as what your current state of mind is, kind of like it's in the background, like you've got your thinking mind going on, and always in the background, so to speak. And I don't mean background behind, I mean it's kind of pervading within, like the mirror and the reflections. The mirror is always pervading the reflections, so to speak. This background consciousness, and I don't mean behind, pervading, but we call it background consciousness, is always present. That's what's knowing. That which is known seems to have taken front stage. But backstage is that which is actually the one that's knowing what's going on in the front stage. And it's like the backstage moved into the front stage character and is looking out the eyes of the front stage character in the play and is experiencing it as that role in that script. So the actor on the stage has a role, has a script, has an identity as a role in the script, and the knowing is looking out through the eyes, through the mind of that, and is experiencing that as a self-identity. But it can occur that there's this separation where that character who's out on the front stage is seen to be not who this is. And this is the background knowing that's always independent of that, but it seems, it's like the television, it seemed became the TV show. But the television can't become a TV show. It's impossible. So your true nature can't become lost in samsara, just like the TV can never become lost in the TV shows. Do you understand? It's impossible. So a lot of teachers will talk about that differently, as though there's just the TV show. And you have to improve your role and character in the TV show. And you get to a point to where the TV show is just really pleasant and you have a lot of good experiences, but you're still the TV character in the TV show. You're not the TV. So Dzogchen is saying, no, you're the TV dummy. You're not the character in the shows, in the TV shows, in the lifetimes of experiences and identities. You're the TV in which all of that's appearing. That's what Dzogchen is pointing out. All the others are more or less saying that you have to improve your behavior in the TV show. That's like saying when you're asleep at night and you're in this dream and tigers are chasing you and you want to become free of that, before you can become free of your fear and before you can wake up, you have to go to a course of how do I wake up from my dream. And you're in the dream and you're always in the course learning how at some point you're going to wake up, and in the morning the alarm goes off and you wake up and that whole thing disappeared. And all the work you did in the dream to get there had nothing to do with the alarm going off. Do you understand?
Isn't that when you have the 12 Vajra laughs, though? Like right at that
Yes.
moment?
So the point is that all the effort you are doing to wake up is completely wasted because there's no one there to wake up. Just like the dream character in your dream at night could be going to all these academies and courses learning how it can wake up to be the one who's sleeping in bed having the dream. You're going to all these different courses and spending all of this time and effort. When the alarm goes off in the bedroom, that one disappears. And all of its work had no benefit to the fact of its disappearance. Do you understand? The alarm went off. Everything you did in your dream at night had no relationship at all to its own vanishment when the alarm went off. Do you see this? That makes it awfully ridiculous. All of this effort and stuff that the dream character is engaged in. The dream character does not exist. It can't wake up. All it can do is disappear, which the dream character you have every night does when you wake up in the morning. It disappears. It doesn't wake up and now you're that. Oh, that was great. I was being chased by tigers and now I'm here. No, it stops. The subconscious ceases projecting that storyline and now it starts projecting the new storyline to me, who now has to get up early so I have enough time to do my prostrations so that I can get to realize this thing. It's so silly when you see that. Nobody wants to hear this. So.
Yes, we do.
Well, certain circuses, I mean, there's certain traditions that there are certain traditions where it's not really considered proper. It's Rudra or demons or something. Anyway, so this mind of clear light arises, and then this afternoon what we're going to be doing is, now that this is all clear and everybody's consciousness is how it always has been. The background consciousness is now the foreground consciousness, so to speak, and the foreground consciousness is melted, so to speak, dissolved, and all that's left is the background consciousness, which was the only consciousness that was ever conscious. The person you were to dream at night was never a real entity who was conscious. It was a projection, a simulation of though there was somebody there being chased by tigers. The person you feel you are today is a simulation, a characterization of as though there's someone here having dissatisfaction in life. The knowing of that is what you always are. You're the TV, you're not the TV show. And the TV characters can never become a TV. How does a TV show character become the TV? You imagine the TV show is playing and all of the characters on the TV show figured out how to become a TV, and you come back in the living room, there's like about 15 TVs. Anyway, so the mind of clear light arises. That's what we're going to be going outside now. We're going to be working on that sort of thing. And that's sort of the absorbing back, called Rulog, the absorbing back of the dream back into its origin. And then there's the mind that has no dissatisfaction, which is the mind of clear light. Then tonight, we're going to be allowing that mind of clear light, which we call the child light or the sunlight, to come down, so to speak, and experience its empty nature, which is the nature of the heart, which isn't really empty because it's full of infinite amounts of compassion, unconditional love, and bodhicitta. So that's how we end the evening. Okay. I can't do better than that. Sorry.
Yeah.
You don't like it, that's too bad. You already paid, so it's too bad. That'll be fun. And then what comes after that, for those who make it to that place, they get to go on a safari. All right, so let's, do you have any questions on any of that? Is any of that unclear? Can I give any more examples?
So
This is-
Jackson, the name you gave, you call the clear light conscious, is it Semni?
Semni is like the first of like the third emanation. First is just Dharmakaya, the empty space. Then there's the ball of sun. That's Sambhogakaya. Then its rays of light produce Seven-yi. Seven-yi is like another sphere that's appearing in it. Like your mind, your thoughts are appearing in the space of your crown chakra. Crown chakra is the quality of the sphere that is the quality of Rigpa, and it has within it the mind, which can either be Seven-yi, when it's pure, knowing itself as being Rigpa, or when it's not knowing itself as being Rigpa, it's Sem, the dualistic consciousness, the karmic mind.
The ordinary mind. They call that the ordinary mind as well.
No, the ordinary mind, typically like in Mahamudra, Tamal Seshpa,
MLG Shepa?
that is the nature of mind, that is the natural state. When they say ordinary mind, they don't mean the ordinary mind of a citizen of samsara.
That's the true nature of mind.
Right.
Okay. That's right.
Anything else? All right, so now let's go practice Togal. Again, the main thing is letting the light come into your eyes. Don't look at the light don't look at the sun unless you have proper eye protection, A, B, and blue light protection in your glasses. And otherwise just use the reflection of the sunlight there. I do one eye at a time because if you notice on it, if you look with your right eye on it, the ball of the sun will be in the middle. If you then open your eye with the left eye, it might not even be on the iPhone at all. That's why it's kind of stupid, because your left eye would not be able to see the light. Your right eye is the one that sees it. So when I practice that way, I always practice with just one eye at a time, and it works fine. Whatever works best for you, but I would, you start with one eye at a time. And then if you have an iPad that is bigger, then those with iPads can use two eyes. And if you have an iPhone, you use one eye at a time. Okay.